442 meeting of Central Delhi Toastmasters Club. Do you want to improve your speaking skills, your leadership skills, and your personality? Then, my dear friend, you are at the right place. Our club has already served and is serving many members to achieve their professional and personal goals. Every individual joins Toastmasters from a different goal perspective. Some to improve their communication skills and some to improve their network. But as we work as one unit, we have a joint mission. The mission statement of our club is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Leaders. Leaders are not born, they are made. Leaders are made from hard work and dedication. Everyone was a beginner in starting, but now let me introduce to you one such great leader. She is president of our club. She has a dynamic personality. She is currently pursuing her graduation from Lady Shri Ram College. Now clap your hands and help me welcome on the stage president of our club, Toastmasters Shivangi Mittal.
Thank you, Toastmaster Samkit, for that enthusiastic introduction. We're just having one more introduction from you, and then we're going to hear someone else. Well, before we move further, can I please request you all to close your eyes? Let's pray for world peace for 30 seconds. All right. Thank you, everyone. Well, today I want to share a story that I have been saving up for this particular meeting since way back. So this is the story of 6 blind men who used to sit together under a tree by the road and chat. So they usually used to see people talking about an animal called elephant, but they'd never seen one because being blind, how could they? So one such day, an elephant was passing by the road where they usually used to sit, and they really wanted to know what kind of animal this is. So they all went on, and everyone started to learn by touching the elephant just what kind of an animal it was. When the first person touched the side of the elephant, he said, "It's like a wall." When the second person touched the tusk of the elephant, he told everyone that it is strong and smooth, just like a spear. When the third person touched the trunk of the elephant, he said, "It's like a snake." But the fourth person experienced something different. He said, "It's like a tree," because he was touching the feet of the elephant. The fifth one touched the ear of the elephant and it felt like a fan to him. Lastly, the sixth person, who was touching the tail of the elephant, said, "It's like a rope." So each of them started to suspect each other and quarreling about who's right and who's wrong. A wise man was passing by and he inquired about the situation. He asked them and he then announced that all of them were correct. They were shocked. How is that even possible? So he went on to explain that each of you have touched a different part of the elephant, which is why you all are correct, because this elephant has all those characteristics that you've just described. When I say, aren't the Toastmasters club officers like those 6 blind men? The VP Education manages the education journey of the members. The VP membership greets the guests. The VPPR handles the publicity, the treasurer handles the finances and the funds, the sergeant at arms handles the physical assets, and well, the president, you could say they're like a thread in a garland. Each one of them comes in with a different specialty and a role, and with that, a different perspective of how the goals can be achieved. From paying attention to the agenda, the deliverables, the quality of the meeting, and everything else that is on our to-do list that keeps us going week after week. It is this team of club officers that brings together a well-coordinated meeting and the overall club success. It is this team of club officers with different perspectives, but one common goal: club growth. Well, now that the current EC's term is nearing an end, and today a new set of leaders would be made. Today, a new set of leaders would be made. On this note, I would like to hand over the stage to distinguished Toastmaster Deepak Tennant.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. How are you doing today? All feeling good? Thumbs up, everybody, if you're feeling good. I assume those of you who are not on video are also raising your thumbs right now. But I'd like to request all of you to put on your videos. If not on video today, where you're going to be missing a significant part of this meeting, I'd like to see all of you switch on your videos today and make a pledge that you're not going to switch them off throughout the meeting. You're going to keep them on all through the meeting. Except, of course, if you're going to have a drink of water, maybe grab a bite, that's when I'll excuse you and you can perhaps, for that little tad of a moment, switch off your cameras. Now, as I start this meeting today, I'd like to ask you a very important question. And the question is, do you think leaders are born or are leaders made? Are leaders born or made? And what I want you to do is put your answer in the chat. Just say born or made, whatever you think. State either born or made. Okay, both, someone says. Okay, so the majority of you have said made. Nobody says born, and Rashmi says both. And I think I tend to agree with all of you that leaders are made. You may be born under any circumstance. You may have any kind of upbringing, but you can still become a leader. We all have the latent capabilities of becoming a leader. But where are leaders made? Okay, somebody wants to tell me, where are leaders made? This time you can unmute yourself and tell me, where are leaders made? Somebody says by their environment. Anybody else?
In a community.
In the community? Somebody else?
Stage of life.
Okay, leaders are made in a stage of life. Wonderful.
Here at Toastmasters.
Absolutely, that was the only answer I was looking for. Yes, Toastmasters, where leaders are made. I know you're all so confused, right? You did not join Toastmasters to become leaders. You joined Toastmasters to enhance your speaking skills, to develop confidence in being able to face an audience, to become better communicators, right? Show of hands if what I've said is right. Okay, so most of you who have your hands up join Toastmasters to enhance your confidence and communication skills. And I'm saying Toastmasters is where leaders are made. So how does this fit? Isn't this a puzzle quite like that of that elephant that Shivangi was talking about? Indeed.
So I'm going to try to solve that puzzle for you today in this meeting. Toastmasters is truly where leaders are made. And it is our meetings, these Toastmasters meetings, where we get that opportunity to become leaders. Everything that we do in our meeting helps us become better leaders. You don't believe me, right? But I'm going to show you how it happens. Every segment of our club meeting provides us the opportunity of improving our leadership skills. Yes, of course, we are improving our communication skills, but we are also enhancing our leadership skills at the same time. So what do we have in our meeting today? We have, of course, prepared speeches. We have evaluations. Today, we don't have table topics, but then we will roll into the elections. And I'm sure that you're all looking forward with anticipation to who's going to be leading this club, aren't you? Yes? Show of hands. How many of you think that you're waiting with anticipation? Great, wonderful. I'm excited because you're excited. So what do these segments do? How do these segments that we have in Toastmasters help us convert into better leaders? The prepared speeches, and that's the first segment that we're going to start with. The prepared speeches help us in ensuring that we are more focused in organizing what we have to say. The better organized we are, the better leaders we can become, because we become more articulate, we become more careful about what we are saying, and clearly then we're getting ready to become better leaders. Now, before we listen to what the speakers today have to say, I'm going to invite our supplementary role players, the rocks of today's meeting, the pillars of the club meeting, as we call them, the tag team. And these roles also help us in becoming better leaders. So first on, I'm going to call the timer for today's meeting. And the timer today is Toastmaster Ankit Tomar. Let's welcome Ankit as he explains to us what he's going to be doing today. Come on, everybody, a round of applause for Ankit.
Good evening, everyone. So time is very precious than money. You can earn money if you lost, but you cannot earn time if it is lost. So it is our duty to use time and utilize it properly. So I request all Toastmasters and our guests that keep in mind while you are speaking, keep in mind the time limit of your speech. Because if your speech will be too lengthy, it will be less interesting, and if it will be too short, it will be confusing. So as a timer, I will note down the time taken during the speech, and I will give report at the final meeting. Here I will describe you briefly time limits of different segments. So prepared speeches will be of 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I will show green card. At 6 minutes, I will show yellow card. At 7 minutes, I will show red card. In evaluation segment, limit will be 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will show green card. At 2.5 minutes, I will show yellow card. At 3 minutes, I will show red card. So today table topic will be not there, but for table topic also 1 to 2 minutes required. Buffer time will be there for both upper and lower end, 30 seconds. So at the end, I will give final report, and also our president ma'am will give final report back to CMOD. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Timer, for explaining your roles in such a wonderful manner. Everybody, please be disciplined about time, because it's when we use our time most effectively, we're ready to become leaders. And so having a timer in our meetings instills that discipline in us. And consequently, it's leading us to become better leaders. Our next role player, the next pillar of this meeting, is our R counter today. And the R counter is by our debutant, Toastmaster Abhishek Singh. Let's welcome Abhishek as he tells us what he's going to be doing during this meeting. Abhishek, you're on mute, please.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I hope most of you would have heard the infamous inaugural speech of President Kennedy. What if it sounded like, and so my fellow Americans, ask not what like your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Can you imagine if John F. Kennedy's inaugural address had sounded like that? It probably wouldn't have been the most famous speeches in American political history. Good evening, everyone. I am Abhishek Singh. I'll be playing the role of R counter for the day. Filler words and sounds such as like, well, and can lower the quality of a speech. Repetitive words and unintentional pauses can also make it sound bad. Using filler words only occasionally is not a problem. They can indicate that you are thinking, collecting your thoughts, and before continuing. But unfortunately, they are repeated too often. It's one of the most common and natural expressions for the hesitation while speaking. But as these are meaningless sounds, words, and phrases, there must be a conscious efforts to eliminate them to deliver a clear and impactful speech. I hope you guys are confident enough to abstain from using them and deliver a brilliant speech. I will note down the use of filler words, filler sounds, repetitive phrases, and unintentional pauses by every speaker and will present in the final evaluating segment. Thank you. Back to the TMOD.
Thank you very much, Abhishek. That was such a wonderful explanation of the role of the R counter today. And indeed, he pointed out the fact that President Kennedy couldn't have been effective if he'd been using fillers. And truly, every leader, if they use fillers while they are talking, while they're speaking to their teams, while they are addressing the world, will seem so ineffective, so ineffectual, so nervous and perhaps underconfident if they're using fillers frequently. And so when we learn how to eliminate our fillers, we're becoming better leaders. Our next pillar of this meeting, the next role player, is our language evaluator. Today, our language evaluator is Toastmaster Faiz Kamil. Let's welcome Faiz.
Thank you so much, TMOD. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I hope you all are healthy and sound. So finally, the day is here to elect our new board members. But still, even today, I can't resist myself from nitpicking those silly grammar mistakes. And also, I have a role of playing grammar Nazi. So moving forward, I would like to narrate the importance of good usage of language and not so good usage. In order to make a proper sense of any speeches, it is important that we pick and choose the right usage of word, and we use grammatically correct sentences. So I will be noting down all those details throughout the meeting. And without any further ado, I would like to introduce the word of the day, which is burgeon. It is a verb, and which means to flourish, to grow. And it can be used in sentences like the incumbent board members, under the visionary leadership of the incumbent board members, Standard Toastmaster Club has burgeoned and achieved a remarkable growth. So I would urge everybody to use this word throughout the meeting as much as possible. And everybody is requested to show thumbs up when anyone uses this word in the meeting. Thank you so much. Over to you, TMOD.
Thank you, Faiz, for your clear explanation as to the role of the language evaluator. And indeed, our leadership skills can burgeon when we participate in Toastmasters and use the correct grammar and make sure that we speak with great usage of our vocabulary, make our speeches vivid, bringing so many rhetorical devices that we can use in our speeches. All of that has to do with grammar. And when we do that, when we're able to paint a vision, a picture to the people that we are leading, what do you think they'll do? They will believe in you. They will want to follow you because you truly would become a leader, an effective leader. So now you've seen that even these so-called perhaps unimportant roles are so important to our development, to our growth as leaders. It's now time to get introduced to our speakers today. We have 2 speeches lined up, both exciting speeches. And I'm sure you're looking forward to listen to them and watch the speakers perform. Our first speaker is going to be introduced to you by our speech evaluator. The first speech evaluator today is Toastmaster Sparshita Verma, who's going to be evaluating the speech by Toastmaster Shanti. And I'm going to ask Toastmaster Sparshita to tell us about the project objectives of Toastmaster Shanti's speech today. Let's welcome Sparshita.
Thank you so much, TM Modi. Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all. Today, TM Shanti will deliver her Level 1 Project 2 speech under the pathway Visionary Communication. Her speech title is, What Do I Speak About? The purpose for this speech is for the member to demonstrate that she has applied the feedback received from her first speech. Timer, please note the duration of the speech is 5 to 7 minutes. And lastly, I wish her best of luck. Thank you so much. Back to Timothy.
Thank you, Sparshita, for providing us details about what Toastmaster Shanti is going to be doing today. Shanti works, in fact, runs a startup. She has an online education startup where she teaches aspirants for MTech, for jobs, and makes sure that they succeed. In Toastmasters, she believes that leaders must talk the walk and walk the talk. In today's speech, she's going to be telling you something very important. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you who have been thinking about doing a speech sometimes feel reluctant about coming up, volunteering, because you feel you don't have a topic to speak on. Is that right? Does that happen to you? Yes? Nod your head, raise your thumb, or show of hands if you so have that problem. Yes, that seems to be the burgeoning problem that a lot of Toastmasters face. But you don't have to worry any longer, because Toastmaster Shanti is going to solve that problem for us in her speech today, which is titled, What Do I Speak About? What do I speak about? Toastmaster Shanti.
What do I speak about? You see, before I joined Toastmasters, writing a speech or writing anything to that matter was easier for me as compared to after I joined Toastmasters. It's obviously surprising to me as well, and I hope to all of you as well. I would think about What is the topic that I have to choose? What should I put in the conclusion? What should I include in the body? Should I include this detail? Should I not include this detail? Would it be offensive to some people? And the list goes on and on and on. Bluntly put, what is the essence of me standing here in front of all of you? Am I adding value to you? Good evening, everyone. I am Shanti, and today I'm going to talk about the struggle that I went through while writing the speech. As I thought about it, I have figured out that there were majorly two problems that were stopping me from writing an effective speech. The first problem, it is a major problem, and I'm sure everyone can agree with me, is connecting with the audience. When I was in school, I would be giving speeches or I would be writing the English paper with an intention that the audience are someone that I know already. Those are all children of my age. They're studying in the same school and we're all watching the same movies. We're all talking about the same things, gossip, everything is same. And you know them well enough. But here in Toastmasters, the diversity of the Toastmasters members, it is so huge on various fronts. We are from different age groups, different professional backgrounds, different educational backgrounds, and even different places. And the list of differences, it goes on and on and on. This is one problem that I have seen. The second problem that I have seen, it is a little insignificant as compared to the first problem, but still important enough, is the degree of freedom associated with the speech. As in, like I said, in school, you would be given a topic or you would be given a theme to talk about. But here in Toastmasters, we have guidelines, we have certain objectives, but we do have the freedom to talk about a variety of things. We can talk about our life, we can talk about our profession, we can talk about current affairs, informational, educational, whatnot. Again, this is a classic case of paradox of choice. Now, these are the two problems that I have identified, but what good is identifying the problem if I am not able to come up with a solution? So I have, again, two solutions. The first solution that I have found was that you had to somehow connect with the audience. And how can you connect with the audience? By choosing a topic which is common to all of us. Now, what is the topic which is common to all of us? Can anybody guess? Yes, anybody who wishes to?
Shivangi has her hand up.
Okay, can you tell me, Shivangi, because I cannot see, so you can just unmute yourself and ask and tell.
The Toastmasters community is what we have in common.
Yes, exactly. So this is one topic that I found was common. We have all joined Toastmasters with the intention of improving our public speaking skills or our communication skills. So this is one common topic that we have. And there are various other topics as well. Even though we are from different regions, we are all, at least in this group, in this club, we're all still from India. So this is one common topic. Another common topic that I have found is current affairs. Not exactly current affairs as in current events. For example, when COVID was going through, the lockdown, the quarantine and everything, this was all a situation wherein all of us have faced it. Or maybe a new president, like in the election today. Maybe a new prime minister or some elections have happened. So these are all the things that we're all going through in common. So these are the current events. This is again one of the common topics that we can all talk about, that we can connect with, that we can ensure that we're able to connect with all of us. The second solution that I have found out is something that it's hard for me to explain. So I will make use of a story. When I was in school, I saw a movie called The Ramen Girl. Has anyone heard of that movie? So if you've heard of that movie, you can just unmute yourself and tell me, because I cannot see the speakers. Okay, so because the time is going on, I will tell it out myself. So The Ramen Girl is actually not a very famous movie. But there was one aspect of that movie that I really loved. And what is that aspect? So this girl, she moves from America to Japan, and she is going through some personal issues. And as she goes through the personal issues, one day she visits a Japanese restaurant where she eats a dish called ramen. It is basically a soup dish. It has soup, vegetable, chicken broth, vegetables and chicken, noodles, and everything. And once she has the ramen, she feels a certain amount of joy, and she starts laughing. She's crying, and then she's suddenly laughing as she eats ramen. And then she decides that I want to cook, I want to learn to cook ramen. So she starts learning to cook. Now, in the movie, there's a guru. A guru has to give the blessing to say that the ramen has satisfied all of the qualities that are required for a perfect ramen. So now there's this girl and there's her competitor. The guru comes and he tastes both of their ramen. So when he tastes the competitor's ramen, he takes just maybe a drop of soup, maybe just a strand of noodles, and just a little piece of chicken. And he tastes it. And he says that I give you my blessing. So the competitor has gotten blessed. Now the girl, in contrast, he eats considerable amount of ramen. He eats a large chunk of chicken. He eats a spoonful of soup, noodles. But he says, I like your ramen, but I cannot give you my blessing. And this, at that point of time, it felt very beautiful to me that sometimes all of the characteristics are going to be satisfied, all of the characteristics, but a person may still not be able to enjoy, like the competitor's ramen. He gave the blessing because everything was satisfied, but at the same time, he did not like it. Whereas the girl's ramen, he liked it, but sadly, it did not satisfy all the criteria. So when it comes to applying it to your speech, you need to obviously work on eye contact, gestures, vocal variety, everything. But if you can keep your heart into it, if you are able to talk about something that really touches you, that's when the speech is going to become more beautiful. I hope that I was able to connect with you all today. And I hope that you are going to put your heart into whatever speech that you're going to give in the future. Thank you.
Indeed, Shanti, I think today you epitomized what you were talking about. You demonstrated to us how to deliver a great speech. Wonderful. Well done. I'm going to give you all 30 seconds to give some feedback to Shanti. She's looking forward to hearing from all of you. You can either put it on chat as some of you are doing, or you could send it to her on personal chat.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shanti. It's now time to invite our second speaker. But before I welcome the second speaker today, let me welcome the evaluator for the second speech. Our evaluator today is Toastmaster Ritwik Dash, and he will be evaluating the speech by Toastmaster Pragati Jain. Let's welcome Toastmaster Ritwik.
Thank you for the recognition, T-Mod. Well, today we have Toastmaster Pragati Jain giving her L1P3 speech with the project title Research and Presentation from the Pathways Presentation Mastery, with the speech title Coffee Cultures All Around the World. So coffee lovers, it's a speech for you. And the purpose to do research on a topic and give a speech on that. Timer, please note, the green card has to be showed at the completion of 5 minutes, yellow card at the completion of 6 minutes, and red card at the completion of 7 minutes, with a buffer time at the 30 minutes on the upper and the lower side. With all that being said, I expect TM Pragati Jain to show a burgeoning confidence and great communication skills from our previous speech within this particular speech, so that we are able to understand that yes, you are also a consummate speaker. So rock the stage. It's all yours. Over to the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ritik, for the introduction. Pragati, our speaker today, is the coffee queen of Central Delhi Toastmasters. Yes, indeed, she's in the coffee business. If you hadn't guessed that already, with all the speeches that she's already given about coffee, well, I guess you're missing something. We have been vicariously enjoying the coffee experience every time Pragati speaks. Today's going to be no different. We're going to experience more learning, burgeoning learning about coffee from Pragati. Now, Pragati says that an effective leader must be one who has clarity of vision and is able to articulate their vision very clearly to the members of their team. If they are unable to do that, if they don't have clarity, they cannot be effective. And we learn how to have that clarity of vision, how to be able to articulate clearly in Toastmasters. Indeed, today we're going to learn more about being articulate about coffee, about the coffee cultures around the world. That's the topic that Toastmaster Pragati Jain is going to speak upon. Let's welcome Toastmaster Pragati. Coffee cultures around the world. Coffee cultures around the world, Toastmaster Pragati Jain.
Thank you so much, TM of the day. Good evening, everyone. Coffee is more than a drink. It is an experience. Around the globe, each and every countries have their own method of preparing and brewing coffee. And some like it iced, some piping hot, some maybe with some spices or some with condensed milk. But today, I'm going to tell you about the rituals, customs, traditions, which are followed in the world of coffee all around the world. Thank you so much. Let me allow to share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Is it? Can anyone gives me thumbs up?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Now?
No.
Now?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So here I am, coffee cultures around the world. Let me go to Italy first. In Italy, what happens? They serve you coffee in a small cup and it should be very hot. And espresso, what they called, well, while talking about coffee, and it should be consumed while standing at the coffee bar. It means if you've ordered for espresso, then you need to finish there and then while standing at the coffee bar. You cannot take it home. And you will be surprised to know that Italian people cannot drink cappuccino during night. It is not customary. Cappuccinos are supposed to be drunk in the morning only. Now, to the next one. Let me take you to Turkey. In Turkey, there is some popular saying that coffee should be as black as hell, as strong as death, and as sweet as love. In Turkey, coffee is served after completing their meals, and it is served in a copper pot. As you can see on screen, it is called sage. And it is also served with some Turkish candies to avoid bitterness in the coffee. Now, in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, if you are sitting in a room of 20 or 25 odd people, then coffee would be served first to elders only. This is a ritual they follow. Coffee will be served to elders first, then to the next ones, like younger ones or things like that. And it is also served with dates and cardamom spice, just to, balance out the bitterness of the coffee. Now, I'll take you all to Cuba. In Cuba, this Cuban brew is very strong in nature. They prefer very strong flavor, and it is usually served in shots. In Cuba, it is a daily routine that after getting up, first thing they do is to have a strong cup of shot coffee. And it is in their tradition as well. Now, coming to Café de Olla in Mexico, it is served in a clay pot in Mexico, which is a caffeinated drink, and it is prepared in a stainless steel saucepan and then drained with a filter. And along with this, panela, which is called brown sugar, is also added to it. And if you want to choose cinnamon stick or the orange peels, that flavors can also be added in Mexico. Now, coffee in France. I'm sure if anyone would have visited France, they have seen the cafes culture there. One can find in every nook and corner of France. Talking about coffee in France, and if you don't talk about croissant and coffee, the things cannot get completed. It is like their daily routine. It is their daily breakfast. The first thing they do is to go to these coffee places and have their croissant and coffee. And it is a meeting place for the people in France. It is where they talk and chit chat and things like that. Now coming to Japan, it is very important. It has a very unique evolution, both in flavor and function. The coffee houses, the traditional ones, are called kinesiten, and the modern gourmet coffee chains exist there as well. In Japan, the coffee which is prepared, it is like it happens in a 3D latte art form. It is a unique concept of Japan only, where they make this foam, with the foam, these cats and any shapes basically, and especially fishes and cats they make with this latte art. And they're very creative about it. And this is a unique concept of Japan only, which happens. Now I'll take you to Sweden. Sweden, coffee break is called fika. Fika is nothing but just taking a regular break from a day. It's like Swedish people like to have coffee twice a day. And normally it is served with a Swedish sweet dish, and where they like to, if they are going for fika, it means they're sitting and contemplating about the things they have done in the past or during the day and things like that. It means slowing down basically in Sweden. Now, coming to Ethiopia, if we are talking about coffee and not talking about Ethiopia, you are not doing justice to coffee, because coffee originated from Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, loves coffee to an extent that it has announced its country's drink. And they have their proper ceremony in Ethiopia for coffee brewing and for coffee preparation, which is almost for about 2 hours it takes. And in the ceremony, the beans are being roasted, brewed, and prepared, and the coffee the coffee prepared by the people usually wears traditional clothes and usually served with roasted barleys and popcorn in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, while preparing coffee, people first add sugar to the cup and then they add water and coffee to it. And normally it happens like 3 rounds of coffee in Ethiopia. The first one is called Awol, the second one is Tona, and the third is Baraka, which means to be blessed. So friends, this is all about coffee all around the world. So I'd like to draw all your attention that in every part of the world, wherever the coffee is being talked about, it is basically bringing people together, binding people together. Coffee is a connector, a conversation starter, a cultural binder, and sometimes a relationship mender as well. So I'm sure you have loved this, and thank you very much. And wishing everyone Merry Christmas in advance.
Thank you. Thank you, Pragati, for that very entertaining speech. I have started feeling that I need to go out and have a cup of coffee too. Madam President, would you permit me to do that?
Well, you'd need to switch off your camera for that, as you mentioned.
Thank you, Madam President. No, I will go have my coffee after I'm done with the meeting today. But indeed, we were fortunate to have such an erudite presenter on the coffee etiquette followed around the world, from Rome to Istanbul, Riyadh, Havana, Mexico City, Paris, Tokyo, Stockholm, and then we finally stopped in Addis Ababa before getting back to New Delhi. Wow, what an amazing journey. Well, it's now time for the polls for the best speaker today, while of course you're providing feedback to Pragati. Can we have the polls, please?
The polls are on the screen now.
Yes, they are on the screen. Please go ahead, cast your vote for who you thought was the best speaker. Very difficult choice today. Both the speakers were absolutely brilliant. If we've collected the votes, let's move on to
10
the
seconds.
next.
So we need 10 seconds more. 5 members are still.
Please cast your vote quickly. No time to waste. Come on, everybody. Okay, the polls are going to close now. Darshan, have you closed the polls?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Well, it's now time to hear from the evaluators of the speeches that we've just heard. And what do evaluations teach us? How do they make us effective leaders? It's very simple. Evaluations not just give us feedback on what we can do to improve and enhance our skills, but just the fact that we get evaluations helps us get ready to receive feedback. As leaders, we must be able to take feedback from everybody. Any leader who's not willing to accept feedback is not an effective leader, can never be an effective leader. And an effective leader should also be able to provide feedback without hurting the people that they're giving feedback to. And that's again what we learn in Toastmasters, how to provide feedback and build the self-esteem of our speakers. That's what our evaluators today are going to be doing. They're going to build the self-esteem of the speakers whose speeches they are evaluating today. First up, I'm going to welcome Toastmaster Sparshita Verma, who's going to be evaluating the speech that we heard from Toastmaster Shanti. Let's welcome Sparshita.
Thank you so much, TM Audi. Wow, what a speech it was. The speech titled, "What Do I Speak About?" perfectly answered the question itself, making us cognizant about different solutions to the problems we face while writing a speech. The speaker achieved the purpose of the speech of applying the feedback, which was to work upon her pitch range, and with a very engaging documentary style informative speech and a strong, clear voice. The structure was logical, and the speaker not only used a significant pitch range, but also gave the impression of a confident and authoritative speaker. The speaker gave a speech while standing and without using any notes. One thing which I must appreciate her, because this was one of the recommendations I gave for a first speech, to not use the notes. And today I'm feeling very happy seeing the speaker not using notes and speaking so fluently. Now, what are those things on which the speaker can work upon to improve her speech? Number one, I noticed that there were some instances where the pace of the speech was a little faster. And I want to illustrate it with an example. So for example, we have a list of fruits. Say we have 5 fruits: apple, banana, grapes, pear, and cherry. So the speaker was like apple, banana, cherry, pear, and grapes. A bit faster pace, but it should be like apple, banana, grapes, pear, and cherry. Number 2, given that the speaker is doing very well on the basic elements of the speech, I want her to bring in more creativity and innovations into her speech, maybe trying with an innovative opening and conclusion. And I want her to devote more energy now on these things of the speech. But overall, the speaker was fabulous throughout her speech. And I love the way she connected the information with the story and presented a visual imagery. The characters of the story really came alive to me. To summarize, the speaker clearly met her objective of applying the feedback and definitely improved on her vocal variety. And though this speaker is burgeoning at a very fast pace, a bit slow pace at instances where the punctuation, especially comma, is used, and bringing into an element of creativity and innovation would lead the speech to the next level. All the best for our future speeches. Thank you so much. Back to Tiamati.
Thank you, Sparshita, for a very detailed evaluation of the speech that we heard from Shanti today. Well done. Our second evaluator is Toastmaster Ritik Dash. Let's welcome Ritik as he presents his feedback for the speech that we just heard from Toastmaster Pragati Jain. Let's welcome Ritik.
Coffee is more than a drink. It's an experience. Wow. What a way to bring water to our mouths. To be very honest, she not only used images, detailed information, a great chronology to lure us at her coffee, at her connoisseurie, but I would say that taste, that lure has something that has burgeoned to a next level. And that's something she has done using certain tools. Voice modulation, as black as hell, strong as death, and as sweet as love. So hope you can actually see that she lowered down the voice as sweet as love. That actually speaks how she used voice modulation to connect it to feelings and emotions. Kudos to you on that. Coffee brewing and preparing, getting together. This use of hands, taking the voice modulation to the next level, using pace and power at different points gives an impetus to your speech. Thanks for that, because that is something that gave an icing to the cake. But because in Toastmasters, we believe in making a good speech better the next time. So here are my recommendations for you. You mentioned once you could not take it home. You could have said it like this, but you cannot take it at home. Something like this. Maybe when you were mentioning of the coffee of Saudi Arabia, you could have introduced Saudi Arabia like this. Now let's come into the country of the sheikhs, Saudi Arabia. Let's look at how they love to have their coffee, something like that. So that would actually give that spice, that cinnamon stick that you spoke about in your speech. Maybe more hand movements at certain points would have been better, which you can actually work upon in future speeches. And maybe again working on pace and power at certain places would have been better. For example, when you were mentioning the spices, some love coffee with cardamom and spices, lowering, making a pitch, tone, pace, power, with all that coming in with the use of hands. That would have done the job. Second, if you want to add cinnamon sticks to it, so maybe you could have increased your voice at certain points. Because when you increase your voice at certain points, if your monotony, if your voice is normally in a low pitch, when you increase your voice, it tells that you are telling something very important. So when you're telling something important, the audience awareness you grab, that's something you want to do. And obviously, a better eye contact, and maybe you could have implicitly looked at your notes. So that no one watches. That would have been really better. So to summarize, maybe I would love that voice modulation in certain places, the create detailed information, the photos that you used, giving us, luring us literally to have a cup of coffee right now itself. And for the you can work upon the voice clarity, pace and power, voice modulation, eye contact. I believe the speech will be superb the next time. Over to the team.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ritik. There was so much to take away from that feedback. Well done. We've had two great evaluations today from Sparshita and Ritik. It's now for us to cast our votes to who we thought were the best. Can we have the polls on the screen, please? There we have them. We have the polls. Let's vote. And do this very quickly. Come on, everybody. Are the polls closing?
Yes, sir, we're done with the polls.
Excellent. Good job, everybody. Round of applause for all of you. It's now time to hear from our tag team. Let's welcome timer Ankit Tomar to present his report. Let's welcome Ankit.
So
Ankit.
according to my final report, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in prepared speech, Toastmaster Santi took 8 minutes and Toastmaster Pragati Jain took 9 minutes 30 seconds. And in evaluation segment, Toastmaster Parshita took 2 minutes 39 seconds and Toastmaster Ritik took 3 minutes 28 seconds. That's all.
Thank you, Ankit, for your report. I did notice that for Pragati's speech, you did not show timing cards. I guess you weren't able to because she was sharing her screen and you could not show the cards. But you could have, in fact, put in the time in the chat box. So that way, at least there would have been some indication of the time. But clearly, today, both our prepared speakers went over time. That does not happen too often. Perhaps it was such a special meeting that they all decided we're going to speak and speak to our heart's content. Let's move on and call upon our counter, the debutante role player, Toastmaster Abhishek Singh. Let's welcome Abhishek.
Both the speakers and the evaluators gave amazing speeches. It took a lot of concentration to point out the ahs and ums. However, I could clearly see some use of filler words, filler sounds, unintentional pauses, which I will be pointing out. So to begin with, Toastmaster Shanti, the first speaker, used 3 hours, 1 UC, which is a filler word, and 2 repetitions. Other than that, she was flawless. The next speaker, Toastmaster Pragati, um, used 7 hours, 4 repetitions, and filler words like well, things like that, 3 times, 1 and 9 short pauses and a long pause. Moving on to the evaluators, TM Sparshita Verma used 3 hours and a short pause. And for Toastmaster Ritik Dash, he used 1 hour and 1 repetition. I would just like to urge you to consciously make efforts to remove it so that you become a fluent speaker and express your thoughts efficiently. Back to the general evaluator.
Thank you, Abhishek. I must tell you that you had 12 fillers, the sound, as you were presenting your report as today's R counter. I guess you were trying to demonstrate how we sometimes use those But thank you for your report, very detailed. And I was slightly disappointed that you did not count my fillers. It's now time to call upon our language evaluator today. And our language evaluator is Toastmaster Faiz Kamil. Let's welcome Faiz.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day. I am back with my short and concise report. And I'm glad to report that the word of the day has been used 4 times throughout the meeting. Ritvik, TM Ritvik, TM Deepak, Menon sir, TM Spashita used 1 time. And there was some great usage of English words like paradox, consummate, nook and corner, erudite, cognizant, impetus. There were more good words which I could not note on my copy. But throughout the meeting, there was a great usage of word, and I would like to urge everybody to make a word of the day part of your active vocabulary. It is a powerful word which will definitely make your definitely add value to your communication skills. And now I would like to over to you for Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Faiz, for your report. Yes, indeed. You are going to see a burgeoning use of the word burgeon in everybody's life. We have now heard from the 3 supplementary evaluators, the pillars of our today's meeting. Let's see who you thought delivered the best. Let's have the polls for the best role player. The polls are in front of you. Cast your vote. Who do you think was the best? Ankit, Faiz, or Abhishek? I have voted. Have you? Wonderful.
So we are closing the polls now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of the meeting where we had the speeches and the evaluations. And we also learned that Toastmasters is where leaders are made. In this meeting, do you now agree that Toastmasters is where leaders are made? Do you? Yes?
Yes.
Wonderful. Excellent. I'm glad that you've been able to figure that out now. Congratulations. And if you had any doubts still remaining, the next segment in this meeting is going to clarify that for you. The next segment is elections, and elections for the leaders of our club. Those who will lead this club in the next 6 months, starting the term of 1st January 2022 to the 30th of June 2022. And this is leadership in action, where you utilize all the skills you're learning in the meetings to develop further as a leader and lead the club to success. You already heard from our president Shivangi as to what each of these roles are meant to do. The role of the president, who's the one who's got the garland, the way she expressed it was fabulous. Even I can't do it the way she did it. But she's the one, or he's the one, the president, who knits the whole team together. But if every other person, the 6 other officers of the club do their job, the president's role is really very simple. What do you say, Shivangi? Do you agree?
Couldn't agree more.
There you go. So the Vice President Education is responsible for the program that we are offering at the club, ensuring that we are looking after the education needs of our members, making sure that we have mentors for our members, and ensuring the growth and development of our members. The Vice President membership ensures that we look after our members as they are when they join the club, and we retain our members. And that is done by ensuring that we follow up, find out what their requirements are, what their needs are, and fulfilling those needs. Our Vice President Public Relations spreads the word far and wide to the world about what is Toastmasters, what is Central Delhi Toastmasters, also provides us information as members as to what's going around in the world of Toastmasters, utilizing all the tools that they have. The social media that they can use, the Central Delhi Toastmasters social media is very active. I hope you're all following the Instagram page and the Facebook page of Central Delhi Toastmasters. If you're not, ensure that you do. The secretary of the club is like the CIO of the club, is the Chief Information Officer, making sure that they have the records updated, they keep the meeting minutes, and they circulate them to all of us regularly as soon as the meetings are over. They also are required to maintain the minutes of the executive committee meeting that happen regularly. The treasurer of the club is the Chief Financial Officer of the club, the CFO, required to maintain the financial statements, the accounts, make sure that the budget is balanced, make sure that all the dues are collected and then paid on to Toastmasters International, and that we take care of all our expenses. And finally, the Sergeant at Arms is the event manager of the club. Ensures that they keep the meeting room ready, they have control of all the assets of the club, and set up the meeting well ahead of time. So they have that responsibility. All the 6 have unique responsibilities, but the 7 members, including the president, work together as a team. And they do see the elephant as a whole, not just parts of it. My friends, each of these roles teach us some aspect of leadership, but together as a whole, they are able to gain more than what perhaps we might end up learning in a business school. Because this is leadership in action, leadership in practice. And I'm sure that each one of you in this room today would want to become leaders, learn leadership skills in this very supportive environment. So today you have that opportunity. We are going to have the elections for these 7 positions. I just named them, so I'm not going to repeat those names. A couple of weeks ago, our president had set up a club leadership committee. Unfortunately, the club leadership committee was not able to provide us a nomination slate for the elections for Central Delhi Toastmasters for this upcoming term. And therefore, all the candidates for these positions will have the ability to stand from the floor. So how this will work is, I will announce the open position of a role, and then I will call upon nominations from the floor. If we receive only a single nomination, we may then be able to dispense with elections, and we will have a single vote cast by the secretary, Darshan. in case there are more than one candidate, there are two candidates or more candidates for a particular role, we will then hear from each of those candidates basis their surname. So the surname will decide the order in which they will speak. They will be allowed 2 minutes to speak. And the timing for the candidates will be done by our President Shivangi today. As soon as your 2 minutes are up, you will be muted. And then Shivangi will lead us with an applause. So you have exactly 2 minutes. You're not going to receive any time indication. As soon as the 2 minutes are up, you'll be muted. And once the speeches are done, we will have an opportunity of casting our votes. There will be a vote through the Zoom channel. We do have some members, people in this room who are not members of the club today. And they will be moved to a waiting room when the votes are cast, so that it's only the members present in this room, the paid members in this club, who are considered active members, who have the ability to cast their votes. Each of you will have one vote. That's how we will carry forward the process of elections. In the case of an election, there is a tie. We will then recast the votes. So the earlier votes will be discarded and fresh polls will be launched until we have a result. And the result being somebody gets the majority. Now you might have a situation where there may be 3 candidates. Well, if there are 3 candidates and nobody gets a majority in the first go, we will continue to cast votes, fresh votes, until one of those individuals receives a majority, or perhaps one person drops out. And then in the next poll, somebody gets the majority. Okay, everybody understood the rules, how this is going to work? Any questions about the process? Are there any questions?
No, everything is clear.
Thank you, Ankit. I believe you're speaking on behalf of the rest of the members. I don't know whether the rest of the members will agree with you or not.
Yes, we do agree.
Silence can be considered as acceptance.
Okay, so silence is considered as acceptance, and we will go by what Ankit said, that everybody is clear about what we are going to follow in terms of rules. And so I'm going to start the election process. First up is the role of the president of the club. I'm going to now open the floor for nominations for the post of president. Anybody can self-nominate themselves for the post of the president, and the person, when they seek the nomination, I will also want somebody to second their nomination. Okay, I first saw Ritik's hand go up. Ritik Dash, Toastmaster Ritik Dash. Please unmute yourself and tell me what you have to say.
Sir, is it a speech that I have to say?
No. What, do you want to nominate yourself for the role of the president?
Yes, sir. I hereby, Ritvik Dash, want to nominate myself for the post of the president of Central Delhi Toastmasters Club.
Thank you, Ritik. Thank you for your nomination. Is there anybody seconding Ritik's nomination?
I second the nomination.
Thank you. Thank you for seconding the nomination. I also see Karanveer's hand up. Karanveer, are you nominating yourself?
Yes, sir. I, Karanveer, would like to nominate myself for the post of president.
Okay. So we have Karanveer nominating himself for the post of president. Is there anybody to second Karanveer's nomination?
I second.
Okay. So we have a second. We have now 2 candidates who have come from the floor for the post of the president of Central Delhi Toastmasters. Do we have any other candidate? Please lower your hands, both of you. Okay, do we have any other candidates for the post